So if you're not familiar with 1 Million Cups, basically what it is it's an entrepreneur get-together. It was founded by the Kauffman Foundation, which is a foundation based out of Kansas City. And when they started this thing back in 2012, there was only 2 little sessions. But shortly after that, it grew into 23 sessions, and now we're well over 100 sessions. In fact, the newest sessions in the nation are right outside the DFW area. It started with Dallas, but now Fort Worth has one. Rockwell is starting another one, and then Frisco is about to have its first week, I think, next week. So what we're going to do is we're going to have 2 presenters come up and tell you a little bit about what they're doing. The way it works is they each get 6 minutes to give you their pitch, and then after that, we're going to have a 15-minute Q&A session. That's your opportunity to really get into what they're doing. Because if you've ever been up here on stage, 6 minutes goes like that, okay? So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce our first presenter. Our first presenter is AMP, RoboAMP, or Flight Club, or RoboAMP. So this is Roberto right here, but what he's going to talk to you about is an app that really helps websites speed up. If you own a website, you know that's one of the biggest challenges you've ever faced. If you're just browsing through the internet, you know that you're never going to sit on a site that takes longer than 3 or 4 seconds to load up. RoboAMP and Roberto has a solution to that problem. So can you guys please stand up and give Roberto a hand?
Man, this is awesome. Can we do this again? So, well, first of all, it's a privilege to be here and sharing our story with all of you. RoboAMP is really something very new that we've been working in the last 3 months. I would say that we make the web faster. I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me about 20 years ago. Well, that's sad because I'm getting old, but about 20 years ago, I got hired to fix a website. It was a huge website, an e-commerce platform. And the problem that they had is they had about between 250 and 300K visits daily. And 20 years ago, that was a lot of visits. And the problem that they had was the website was growing so fast that they couldn't keep up the website up. I mean, the website was crashing all the time. At least 5 times a day, we had to restart everything. The queries were super slow. And obviously, like, how many of you are web developers here? Okay, there are a bunch. Most of the time you have time constraints and you have budget constraints. So instead of fixing all those queries or instead of redesigning the whole database, basically what I did was to come up with this idea of caching everything. So having all the queries ready, so whenever we want to search for a product, you don't have to hit the database with thousands of queries each second. Ended up happening that idea stuck with me. I mean, that was a very successful project. All the sales went up, people were happy, engagement with that. So I always thought this would be a great idea to implement at a large scale. So having all those websites cached, so every time that you visit them, you don't have to make all those SQL queries or each database that you might use. Everything cached means that whenever you search something, you get a response from the server and you don't have to make all these calculations that the website does until you render the page. The problem with that is you will need a lot of money because it requires a lot of computing power to have all this page cached. And on top of that, you need a kind of a CDN service where you can provide this solution for all across the globe to make the request even faster. Thank you. So on top of that, that was an idea that stuck with me, and luckily for us, Google implemented this 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. On top of how slow some websites are, this is a general problem that each website is getting bigger and bigger and bigger year over year. In average, between 2 or 3 megabytes of website. The average load page on mobile goes between 6 and 8 seconds, and we think that's insane. So RoboAMP solved this problem. Chef Ramsey. We solved this problem using the technology that already exists. So we're going to do a small test right now. So please grab your phone right now. Let's do a very, very fast test. And we're going to Google for New York Times or BuzzFeed or entertainment news. Some of those terms might work. And what you're going to see is the very first results, or at least the very couple of first results, you're going to see that some of those says AMP. It has like a lighting bulb next to them. Can you see those results? And if you scroll a little more probably you're going to see a carousel with a lot of different websites that says AMP. I see a lot of people know it. That's awesome. So that means that Google AMP is not only going to be blazing fast, it's also automatically going to bump your SEO results. That's another huge advantage why someone might want to have an AMP website. So Google is pushing and pushing and pushing all these AMP pages to have better and better results in search. So now, tapping any of those results in the query that you just made, and you're going to see that the website is going to load super fast. And on top of that, you can scroll left to right as many times as you want, and you can see how fast those websites loads. In average, Google estimates that the speed for AMP websites is between 0.5 and 1 second, or below 1 second. Also, Google estimates that for each second that a page takes to load, your bounce rate increases between 10 and 50%. So if your competitor has a website that is only 2 seconds faster than yours, your bounce rate is going to be 30% higher, just in terms of speed. RoboAmp solves this because with only one line of code, you don't have to know nothing about programming. You just copy and paste one line of code that we're going to give you. Anyone can implement this. It works with all CMSs, any kind of website. Automatically rewrites your code to make it AMP compatible. Google AMP is great, but the problem is they don't use HTML. They use a subset of HTML. So if you want your pages to be AMP compatible, you need to or rewrite the code yourself. That probably is going to take you a couple of weeks. Or spend thousands of dollars, people made it for you, or you just use RoboAmp. Copy and paste one line of code that we're going to give you in the header, and we rewrite everything for you. There is a lot of success stories. You can go to ampproject.org, that's the official page, and you can see all the success stories. So this is obviously very scientific. So we have an unfair advantage with our competitors in the way that we parse the HTML. Most of our competitors broke the pages. In the way that we analyze the HTML, we go to the CSS and make all your website to make sure that it looks beautiful and fast. We are targeting content providers, and we're finishing. We have pricing model, and one of our tiers is free, so you can go and join. We're raising $250K. That's going to give us a runway of 18 months. That's our team. We are very happy with the team. We've been working with them for years. And that's what we do. We make the web fast. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberto.
All right, everybody. Roberto, we'll have you stay on stage for Q&A.
I don't have an applause again.
We'll do that after Q&A. We'll do a whole other fantastic applause. Okay, so in Q&A at 1 Million Cups, we always first start out with the same question, which is, what can the local startup community do for you? How can we all help RoboAmp?
Well, first of all, this is a technology that applies to any website. Okay, so it doesn't matter what industry you are in, this automatically is going to make your website super fast. It doesn't matter if it's e-commerce, if it's a blog. So all of you can today go and apply to go to roboamp.com, and we're going to give you a free API key. So all of you are going to have RoboAmp for free because you're just awesome. So go sign up, and you're going to have the service for free.
Awesome, thanks for hooking us up with that. So we do have 15 minutes of Q&A. This is where you, our audience members, get to interact, get to ask your questions, and kind of also learn anything you want to know about the company. You can ask about kind of how they got started, what their business model is like, anything that you have in mind. And I will float around with the mic and try to catch everyone who's got their hand up. So any brave soul want to start us off with a question? All right, here you go.
I'm not a developer, but it sounds like a really cool idea. Could you talk a little bit about the business model? Like
Yes.
How you anticipate making money from this?
So the business model right now, we are using a subscription-based model. We have 3 different tiers, and pricing is always hard, so we're going to be experimenting with this. one of our price is free for websites that are small bloggers, small amount of businesses. We're doing this for two reasons. One is because we want to perfect our algorithm to study all the corner cases that we can find, so we can improve in our algorithm how we read and interpret those HTML tags. And the other one is because we see this as a part of our customer acquisition cost. At the bottom of those free pages, we're going to have a banner to our website, and we believe that we can upsell more services like web design, even hosting or AMP themes. Basically, it's a subscription-based model, and if you have more than 10,000 visits daily, then it's $10 a month, which still is much cheaper than hiring a bunch of developers or studio to make this for you.
Awesome. Anybody else?
In general.
Oh.
Do you have any, proprietary aspect to the product? And if you do, how do you protect that? Is it important to you? How does that figure into your model?
Well, in terms of something that's proprietary, we're just starting out. We've been working these 3 months, so honestly, we don't have the resources to hire a lawyer to go and say, okay, this is something that we can patent for you. Obviously, all that requires money, which we don't have. I can tell you that we're different than our competitors in the way that we analyze the code and we go to the CSS and we understand the object and then we replace it. So, to answer your question, we don't know if that's patentable or not because we don't have the resources to hire a lawyer. It may or it may not, I can honestly tell you, but there is a key difference with our competitors.
So in your slide, you have mentioned that 50% of the fund that you're trying to raise goes into the development. So what is the major components? Like what kind of a roadmap you have and what is the time frame for achieving that kind of roadmap? And roadmap is road app, right? Similar words.
So what we're doing now is we are in contact with the biggest CMSs in the market. Let's see, go there. So we're targeting WordPress, Tumblr, Joomla, Magento, all those huge CMSs. And the reason is, right now, for instance, just to give you an example, WordPress has its own free AMP converter. Now the problem with that is it's so limited, even WordPress, that they know their own technology stack is so limited that it's only available for pages. If you're a small business that uses WordPress to create your business on top of WordPress, and you have pages, you just can't use their free AMP solution. So from the gate, we are pre-launch, we're launching next week, but you can go and sign up now. But from the gate, from the go, we are better than WordPress already. So targeting all those CMSs is going to be important for us because they have a huge distribution channel. Talking with those developers, most of the developers that we've been talking, we have verbal commitment because they see the advantage of, they don't have to do anything. They just add one line at the website automatically, as you saw, has a bump in SEO and incredible fast speed.
I have one, I have one and then I'll move to yours next. So you showed us when we did just a quick demo on our own phones, how it works on Google. Are there other search engines that are doing something similar? Can you speak to that?
So this is an open source project, which is great. Last week we had a meeting and there were all the engineering team of Google answering questions, so people can go and participate and make changes if you want. That's great because it's open. This is not a project only where Google is involved. Microsoft is involved, Intel is involved, huge companies are involved. So this is a project that we see is going to have legs. There are different solutions for this. Like for instance, Facebook, they have, I think it's instant articles, something like that. So different companies are coming with similar solutions. Google is the biggest player, and we know how important is Google in terms of search result and how important is Google to drive business to your businesses. So we're focusing in Google, but the technology and in the way that we process all this, let's say that something terrible happened. Let's say that Google killed this project in 1 year or 2 years moving forward. All the technology and in the way that we process the page still is going to be something that your business are going to get benefit of. Because in the way that we compress all the resources, in the way that we cache all the resources, only at the end of that we send the result to Google so Google can cache all those results. instead of Google, we have other platforms. Let's say that Microsoft creates something that is complete. You can just replace the last part of our stack, and our solution still is going to work for you.
Okay, cool. We have one more question over here.
So I know you mentioned the technology, I know you mentioned HTML. So is it specific to, are there any limitations on the technology side?
The limitation in the technology. Well, the thing is, AMP does not use HTML. They use a subset of HTML, so there are stuff that you can't do. The other thing is, it's a living beast. I mean, they keep evolving and adding more and more features. In the beginning, AMP was designed only for bloggers, static content. In the latest Google I/O, just a couple of months ago, they announced a lot of features that is now ready for e-commerce. That's what our natural evolution is for e-commerce, because now you can have shopping carts and change stuff and make more JavaScript-like stuff. So the limitation is you can't use JavaScript unless you're using iframes or other techniques. So you have to look at AMP like a fat-free HTML. There is a lot of stuff that you can do, but it's something that they keep improving time over time.
And the second question I had was, like what kind of content is it based? Is it just text, or does it also help video, audio, any of the content?
Video, audio, you can have carousel, you can have YouTube videos, you can have Facebook Live. I mean, it's really a lot of tags and components that you can create. That's what I was telling you. If we have something super simple, super easy, any of you could do it, and I believe, given the time, any of you could rewrite. But it's so much work that you have to do that the solution that we provide, we believe is ideal, because you just add one line, you don't have to code anything else. But there are a lot of different tags. If you go to that page, ampproject.org, you can see all the HTML specifications that we have.
Awesome. We've got about time for about 2, maybe 3 more questions. Anybody else have? Got one over there? Here you go.
Morning, Roberto.
Hey, how are you?
Can you talk about your why? Like, why did you start this company, your background, and what really, gave you the unction to start this?
Well, we all three have been working on web development for years. I mean, this is something that we are very passionate about, something that we know. And not only as an engineer, but also as a user, it's really, I feel physical pain when I have to wait 5 seconds or 6 seconds in a website. On top of that, every time, this is my third company, and every time that I decide to work in a project, I try to find an idea that first is easy to scale, and we believe, obviously, this idea is we can serve millions of websites from now to tomorrow. But beyond that, it's something that is painful for a lot of reasons. We try to focus on problems that are important, problems that can have an impact. And it's not only in the number of users that are going to be happy to have less than 1 second website. It's also how many businesses we can help, not only in retention, but also this is great for publishers. Just to give you an idea, one of the reasons why Google designed this solution, AMP Pages, was because the constant wars that is happening today in advertising. More people are using ad blockers. So Google said, okay, what about if instead of serving ads, we cache those ads and we serve those ads so people can't block. That was the real reason why Google developed this. The collateral damage of that we all have much faster websites. And we thought that it was an opportunity to help a lot of people. We know that e-commerce, which is our next goal, has nothing like this. And we just love what we do, and we just want to make the world better. As corny as that sounds.
Awesome.
Hi, Roberto. So I'm one of the little people. So I've got a couple of websites. One of our websites, we have a problem with page speed. When we go to the Google tool to measure page speed, it usually comes up at a 65. With the mobile app coming up at like a 55. If we start using RoboAmp, what kind of change can we see in those results? Do you have an idea or just a ballpark figure of how that will help?
So this is what happened. Google AMP does not substitute your mobile page, your landing mobile page. It may if you want to, but it does not automatically. So it's not like you're going to have a third page. I kept telling that you just copy one line of code, right? So So that line of code that you have to copy and paste that we're giving to you goes to the header. What it does is, it works like this. Google visits your page, and Google reads that line and says, oh, this is where this person has their AMP version. And then Google goes to that page and search from there. So the AMP results comes from there, from the results. So your mobile page, whatever you're using for mobile, that still is going to be your own code. It's not going to be the AMP result. You can make it if you want to, but it's not going to affect the results in that sense that you're saying, because those results, that like 65 or whatever it might be, comes from your mobile page, not from the AMP version of your mobile page. Make sense?
Then one last question I
Sure.
wanted to ask is, can you think of any big hiccup that you guys ran into, a big obstacle that you had to overcome in this part of the journey so far? And that might help everyone here who's an entrepreneur trying to work through similar obstacles.
I mean, in terms of technical challenges, there is nothing that we foresee that might say, oh, okay, this is not going to work because of technical limitations. I mean, really what we're doing is an engine that rewrites and parses everything that makes compatible pages. So it's very straightforward. It takes time, and as many users we have, so I encourage you to go to roboamp.com and sign up so we can study what, and make our algorithms smarter. The thing is, we are raising money, and that money is going to help us. We're not raising a lot of money, we're just raising enough, so we know that we're not going to become homeless. But we're raising enough to keep the business and to keep the development going. So the biggest obstacle, and will be very sad, will be if in 6 months from now we have to shut doors because we don't have funding and we don't believe that. We already raised 25K from families and friends, and we're having meetings with investors, so we believe we're going to close all this around, hopefully. But in terms of technical challenges that we foresee that might be a roadblock, honestly, we don't see any.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. Let's give it up one more time for RoboAmp.
So we couldn't do what we do here every single Wednesday if not for our sponsors. Sponsors are really important to bringing you the coffee, to bringing the food, to this event space, to just about everything we do. So we'd like to give a shout out to Dead Mountain. They're the ones who provided us with the coffee today. Dead Mountain is basically a coding academy based in Utah and in Dallas. If you're interested in taking on some of that development work yourself, Dead Mountain is a really good place to start. Secondly, big shout out to Kurtu. Tasty treats. Finally, we'd like to thank the deck. It's really difficult in Dallas to find a really good free event space, and the deck has been gracious enough to give us their space every single week. So I want to introduce somebody from the deck. I've got two people over here. I've got Emmanuel, who'd be happy to give you a tour after the session. On Wednesdays, they do free co-working space, so all these white tables in the back, you're welcome to make use of those on Wednesdays. But if you're going to come here and use the space, definitely talk to Emmanuel. Get the full tour. There's a lot of great resources at this co-working space. They also want to make one announcement.
Good morning, everyone. Happy to have y'all here. Tonight, I just want to make an announcement. Tonight is We Dallas, Techies and Makers. So We Dallas stands for Women Entrepreneurs, and it is at the Garage, Capital One's brand new makerspace. There'll be a happy hour, a fireside chat with the head of brand of Bumble, and then there will also be a mini showcase of women-owned startups and tech and product startups. So there'll be some great conversation, and the registration opens up at 5:45. So we hope to see everyone there. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you yourself are interested in being a sponsor, we give you an opportunity to come up here on the stage and tell us like 2 or 3 sentences about what you do. Right now, we're taking a look for new coffee sponsors. It's a really small contribution every single month to make that happen. Okay, with that, let's get started with our next presenter. They are called Flight Club. I've got AJ and David. AJ and David over here. Basically what they are is a social networking app for business travelers, but there's a lot more to it than that. So can you guys please stand up and give AJ and David a round of applause, please?
All right, good morning. All right, thank you guys. We're glad to be here. I'm David Barrett, I'm the marketing manager, and then this is the visionary, the founder, AJ. So this is Flight Club. We're a single platform for all travel needs, including networking, pre-order food, duty-free shopping, and more. So those are our social media sites if you want to go check us out. And you can hashtag taking pictures or anything, no more lines.
Well, good morning, everyone. Again, this is Ajay. So before I get started, I have a quick question. How many guys love to travel? How many of you love to travel? Everybody, I would say. But how many love flying? You love it? You haven't had any issues lately?
Like 100,000 miles a year.
I'm sure you have seen the video of the passenger being dragged out United Airlines, right? So anyway, the problem is, like you, I fly a lot, and most of the challenge is you're spending about an hour at the airport, and you're spending that hour in lines. You're at the TSA security line, you're in line trying to get a cup of coffee or your fruit, you're in line to get on the flight itself, right? So the problem is, how is that we can leverage that, reduce the challenge, and help the customers be able to use some of our technology and ensure that that problem is reduced.
So, okay, so our solution to saving time is to pre-order food before or when you're landing in the next city, and using our grab and go technology, and we're extending that to duty free, so you can pre-order stuff at duty free locations. You can also connect with passengers, like you said, leveraging that time that you have in the airport to connect with people that are like-minded business travelers, and you can actually see who will be on your flight and see what they do for a living and be able to connect with them before you even get to the airport.
So this is, just to follow up, this has been my personal scenario. I was actually flying from Dallas to New Orleans for a startup conference. The gentleman sitting next to me was an angel investor. We actually connected through the app, and then we realized that we can actually discuss business on the flight itself. So this is more focused for business travelers, where you can actually leverage your time when you're on the flight, or even before and after, is how you can leverage the time to be able to make those business connections. Could be your partner, could be a potential customer, a vendor, anything as such. One thing I do want to highlight, this is specific only to business travelers, and the way we do it is by invitation only, and also we ensure that we kind of go through some validation process, that they have a valid LinkedIn and things as such. So where we are from a market perspective, obviously travel is huge. Business travel itself it's a huge market. But within business travel, if you really have to break down, we have 457 million trips in 2016. But the bigger number is $553 million spent at the airports. Spent buying your food, your coffee, and things as such. So that's where our big revenue market is. And basically the whole idea is where we're going to integrate that also for international travelers with duty free. The beauty about duty free is you know what you want most of the times. Typically the products are pretty much the same in most of the duty free stores. So why wait in line, why go through the whole process where you pre-order it and that gets delivered to you at your own gate.
So this just shows that it's a growing industry year over year, and we'll just continue through. Speed up a little bit. So this is kind of one of our business models is it'll be a paid app, so ensuring we got serious people that are looking to connect with other business travelers. Just go through.
So again, from a revenue perspective, there are three components. One, as David mentioned, it will be a paid app. There's a premium option, but also as you need more features, it will be a paid app. And number two, our bigger revenue is from the food orders and from the duty-free shopping. So we are actually working with the vendors at the airports, HMS Host being one of them, some of the duty-free stores, where we actually bring traffic to them and we get certain percentage out of the traffic. So this actually gives an example of duty-free itself. So if you see, at the end of the day, Yearly, it's about a $32 million margins out of the duty-free shopping. So this kind of gives a little bit more of the financials, more detail. But again, just at a very broader sense, the three revenue components is the paid app, the revenue from the food orders, and the revenue from the duty-free shopping.
So this is how we plan to market. In sales, we're going to outsource to social media marketing agency, hire a PR professional, extend to multiple social media platforms, which I'm controlling right now, partner with airlines, Expedia, Sabre, and then we're going to overlap several marketing campaigns to one airport at a time to ensure that we have at least, this is for DFW numbers, generate 5,000 daily users so that you have an average of 5 potential connections per flight. Because if you have 0 or 1 connection per flight, then you're probably not going to use it. But if you had 5 people to choose from that you saw, then you probably, it would be worth it for you. And then from each airport, expanding to 1 at a time, and then from there internationally.
So one quick note on this, what we're looking for is the breakdown of how we plan to use the funds. But right now, we have an MVP out. It is available both on iOS and on Android. And hopefully the idea is to actually take this to the next level.
Great job, guys. So as we go through our standard first question, I want you guys all to start thinking about what questions you guys might have. So again, great presentation, and our standard question is, what can we all, as the local startup community, do for you? How can we help Flight Club, whether it's through testing out the product, validation, marketing, how can we help?
Sure. No, and thanks for that. Actually, the best help is an opportunity like this. I've known him for a while now. From a startup perspective, the best is try the app out, give us your feedback. More importantly, try to use it as much as possible, especially if you're traveling a lot. Also, Dallas is a great startup community. We have been involved with Million Cups here, with Launch DFW. We are actually trying to do the same thing in Fort Worth. So any opportunity where we can go out, spread the word out. We are also heavily on social media. That's what David has been working on. So please follow us. Use the hashtag #NoMoreLines. That's actually the message which we're sending it to everybody's travel.
Awesome. So yeah, download it and spread the word. I think we can do that. Yeah, who's got a question?
Morning, guys. So, is the space that you guys will generally operate within the departure to arrival? In other words, are you thinking about maybe from the grab and go perspective, because it looks like you touch on it a lot, are you thinking about maybe for the active lifestyle business traveler who wants to eat healthy when they arrive? Will this be something where you expand past the airport to where they can reserve grab and go food from a healthy perspective once they land?
Sure, that's a good question. Right now our focus is primarily again, help leverage the business traveler when you're in a rush, when you're in Uber, you have only 15 minutes to catch your flight, you're hungry, you don't want to pay $15 for a 2-day salad on the flight, or you'd already end up eating pretzels, right? So right now the focus is more within the airport itself, but that's a great suggestion. Probably, as we expand the market, we'll be happy to look into that.
On your revenue projections, what did you, were there comparables, or what did you base that on? The one with the graph, it's going from like $1 million to $4 million, or whatever that is, and after year 2. So did you base it on the current model, or how did you get that?
Basically the whole idea is it's like any other startup. The first year is basically just getting the word out, getting subscribers on, and most of the revenue for the first year is purely based on the subscription model itself. The second year and third year is where we are forecasting the revenues from the other 2 components, which is the pre-order of food and the duty-free shop. So that's why you see the jump up pretty high.
So is there a current, is there any, like how did you come up with the numbers for the assumptions? Is it like, hey, like Grubhub did this in year 2, or Uber did this in year 3, or whatever? Like, was there a company that you modeled it after, or how the assumptions come to be? I mean,
for
I guess
example,
that's
okay. So here for the Grab and Go technology, we kind of took what the average is at the airport. You're ordering about something around $10 worth. We kind of start breaking down. So the total with the 2% margin is about $11 million. And this is just the US market. David has more.
Yeah, and I did quite a bit of research on, it's 1 out of 5 travelers on an airplane is a business traveler. So that, along with looking at projections from other companies and what we believe is possible. The first number is only based on 175,000 downloads, and then going to where you saw 4 million was 2 million downloads. So it's not something that's like impossible to achieve. Of course, there's lots of speed bumps along the way, but 2 million is not impossible when you're talking about 2 million people flying every single year.
Hey guys. Hey, good morning. Good presentation. Certainly, I think everybody recognizes there's definitely a problem. I guess my big question kind of ties into one the other guy there was mentioning is just the value proposition of your solution that, I travel, it's a hassle, things could be better, easier for me on my travels, but, how you guys determine that folks are going to pay for this app, because there's so many external variables that y'all don't control, like the timing of what happens on a travel day. That's for me, that's the biggie, is I love a solution to this, but I don't know what I'd pay for it. And I'm not sure about the research you've done about, gee, what will people pay for this to extrapolate then your revenue? So there's my question. One other quick comment, a lot of great data in here. You've got too much data in here visually for a presentation. You need to really boil that down to real simple graphics to go with what you guys say. The slides got way too much data because we're not reading the report. So, but anyway, just back to the question about the value proposition and what will guys like me pay for it, and thus you'll get all the adoption you're looking for. Thanks.
Thanks for the suggestion. This is kind of like our standard deck, so obviously we'll have to modify that. But to go back to your first question, from a value proposition perspective, and again, as a business traveler, for me, time is money. I would rather pay $5 where I don't have to wait in a TGF 5 days line when I know I have only 10 minutes to run to my gate. So that's basically the message which you're pushing is, there are certain things you are not under your control, one being the security lines, right? Unfortunately, that's something you cannot manage. But outside of that, one that is manageable is what happens when you're, from the security lines, you go to your gate, you're in a rush. And also, as I mentioned, our focus is more towards business travelers. And business, you're always on the run. You're on meetings, you're on phone calls, you're trying to get your work done. You really don't want to wait 15 minutes at a Starbucks line or a TGF Fridays line. So that's the message. Now, granted, it's going to take some adoption, it's going to take a lot of messaging. And what we're doing is we're actually partnering with a lot of business travel, network related agencies. As a matter of fact, we just got invited for a conference in London with Shift. So these are the agencies which are working, and they do like that idea where for a business traveler, we are kind of helping them reduce that stress level of waiting in lines.
Hi guys. So my question is, I'm not familiar with the competitive landscape. I don't know, for instance, my question would be, who is your biggest competitor and how are you going to beat them?
Good, that's a good question. So based on the 3 different components on the networking side, there's no competition. Right now, at least from what we see is from business networking side, we're the only ones doing it. In regards to the food order, we have seen a few agencies who have started up. As a matter of fact, I was just reading yesterday, one of the agencies that started out of North Carolina, they just decided to just close the shop. I don't know the idea behind that. And the third one on the duty free, what we have seen is the duty free stores have their own app. But the challenge they have is it's very difficult for everybody to download just an app for about 15 minutes when they're at the duty-free store. So that way they're not getting any traction or any traffic because of their app. So that's something which you're going to present is, hey, you know what, we already have the customers. We'll get them to your store using the duty-free connection.
We've got time for about 2 more, so I'll get you're in the gentleman in the front row.
I'm just interested in the logistics here. So let's suppose I want to buy my food from TGIF. When do I actually transfer the money to TGIF? And how do I know, for example, it's in the terminal I'm going to be? What happens if my flight gets backed up at the gate and now I'm suddenly don't have the 30 minutes, I've only got 5 minutes to get to my flight?
Good. So in regards to the first part of the question, the logistics and the technology, so we are actually working on the back end, trying to build a platform with restaurants, with the convenience stores, things as such, where they can either have their information directly transferred onto our app or we connect with their app itself. Now in regards to the money transfer itself, it's like any other online mobile sales. We have your profile, we have your information. Once you have the order, that goes through that process. In regards to the third question, where you have less time, now obviously that's a good and bad scenario for a traveler. If you have reduced time, then you would need this app. Then you would actually want to leverage this app. But if there is any change in notifications, what we have is we already have your flight information. We already know that your flight is getting delayed. So that can be passed on to the vendor itself.
Hi there, thank you. One of the questions that I have is, I think we spend a lot of time focusing on food, right? But if you're a frequent flyer, most often you're being upgraded to where you have access to food on the flight, or you also belong to clubs, right? Whether you're going into Admiral's Club or what have you. So food is not something that I'm too curious about here, but more so it's the value of the connection of other business travelers. So what is your marketing strategy to compete, again, with LinkedIn, Facebook, to say you have a flight with somebody, connect with them, and that is worth $5 if it's a conversation that leads to something.
Sure, and that's a great point. Actually, when we started, the initial idea was the networking pitch itself, and that's still the core of it. Now, in regards to the marketing, and then you mentioned LinkedIn, and so LinkedIn, the thing with LinkedIn is you have to know who the person is, right? To send that invitation, and it's a process to get accepted to the invitation. But here, even before you board on the plane, you get to see who else is on the same flight, right? And actually, we have had situations where you actually can schedule a meeting ahead of time. When the flights are delayed, whatever the window you have, you can leverage that time to connect with your potential partners, right? Now, Facebook, again, it's more on the personal side. It's not a business-focused app per se. So again, our focus is more on the business itself. We kind of limit it to business travelers itself. And thirdly, when you're on the flight, and this is something which we are kind of thinking through, is maybe you are at 2 different seats. The person who you want to connect is way behind. So we're trying to figure out the logistics behind how we can change that. Because it's a 2-hour flight, 3-hour flight, you want to leverage that time. You want the person sitting next to you to be able to have that business discussion.
Awesome. Really great questions from everybody, so thank you all for participating in the Q&A. If you had something you wanted to ask but didn't get a chance, both of the teams are on Twitter, and I think they're going to be all sticking around a little bit afterwards to network and get any of those other questions answered. With that, we'll give one more round for Flight Club, and then I'll hand it off.
Thank you, guys. So that is 1 million cups for this Wednesday. Next week, we're changing things up a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to have food truck operators up here talking about their businesses. And one of the things that we're going to do that's a bit different is we're going to have some successful food trucks, and then we're also going to have some unsuccessful food trucks. My first question is, why do I have to pay $20 for a hamburger and french fries? They're kind of expensive. But it should be a really interesting presentation. We're getting a lot of buy-in from the food trucks that you see downtown and like around Clyde Warren Park. So we hope to see you next Wednesday. If you guys have any questions about being a sponsor or being one of our being a coordinator, just come by and see us. We'll be sitting right up here up front. Otherwise, have a fantastic week.